On this episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast, we talk about one of the most influential bands in AFI. We talk a lot about how Trevor has lost his mind, and we also talk about how we didn't give their new albums a chance, even though we should have. So thanks for jumping on, and let's open this pit up.
Somebody hit somebody!
Start the recording, but I'm going to finish what I'm saying. You have a better chance of somebody knowing who AFI is than who CM Punk is. 100% of the time.
Maybe CM Punk, but you don't have a better chance of them knowing what wrestling is versus AFI.
Like WWE.
WWE wrestling.
Nah, I don't buy that.
The
either.
Rock, John Cena. You go to China and freaking John Cena's speaking to you in your own language, man. It is way more international than AFI.
You can't even see John Cena.
That's valid.
So, yeah. You're not going to win this one, man.
My gosh.
I've seen AFI way more times than I've ever seen John Cena.
Yeah. So, freaking Joss doesn't know anyone from doesn't know who CM Punk is, but could sing some AFI songs. And I'd never even shown her AFI. This was on her own volition.
No way, man. The only reason she knows is because of you. There's no
she
way.
was singing, and we'll get to this. I'm sure we'll get to this because this is my big issue with December Underground. She knew 2 songs from December Underground. This was on a movie somewhere, and she was singing to it. So I'm telling you, people know AFI more than they know WWE.
Yeah, you guys are out of your minds, but welcome to this week's episode.
I'm leaving all this in, and it'll be out there for the world to know.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast. You're here with me, Trevor, Kyle, who's absolutely wrong, is back from Florida, and then Josh. And we're already off to a good start, guys. First of all, Kyle, welcome back. How was Florida,
Thank you.
man?
It was dope. It was awesome, and 10 out of 10 would do it again. So
nice. And just straight Disney World, right?
Just straight Disney World. And I want to change the thing. We go hard when we go there, and it was sick.
How's the weather?
So they've done the weather was great. It was like low 80s, but like 150% humidity, which isn't bad when it's not super hot, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
So the weather was chill, but
it's sick.
Nice.
It was fun. Yeah, it was good. So
you do anything this weekend, Trevor?
So my wife was out of town with her parents, so I had my kids, and 2 of us were sick. So it was just chilling and hanging out. But I just got done. If you guys don't have children about the age of 6, one of the best things ever is pulling your kids' teeth. My middle child, she got her first loose tooth and it was hanging on by a thread. We took the string, we tied it around there, and I couldn't get it to stay. Her teeth are so small, I couldn't get it to stay because we were going to slam the door and stuff like that. So finally, I got it in a position. I'm like, London, just hold on. And she's like, what are you doing? And I pulled it like that. And what I did, I pulled my hands apart and it popped straight out of her head. It was awesome. So, yeah, pulling kids' teeth, that's fun.
The Tooth Fairy come?
Will be. The Tooth Fairy will be coming. But
yeah, the other morning, Lily lost her front tooth and Cheyenne forgot to put money under the bed, and so under the pillow, and she came to me. She said, "Do you have $1?" And I was like, "Yeah, look in the jar." But I have hundreds in there, and I woke up. I was like, "Don't grab the 100. Make sure it says 1."
Okay,
that's my biggest problem. Is I don't have cash anymore,
right?
So we have to plan out in advance.
The Tooth Fairy comes with
the Tooth Fairy brought me a check.
Tooth Fairy comes with Venmo these days, man.
Exactly.
Real. But my oldest, she decided that she liked her teeth coming out. So she pulled her own teeth out before they were set. And so the Tooth Fairy did not come for one of her teeth because you don't pull your own tooth out. They fall out on their own. The Tooth Fairy has a calendar. So
that's messed up.
What about you, man? Did you do anything, Josh?
I did a powerlifting meet on Saturday, just helped out at one. Went up to Logan Friday night, stayed in an Airbnb. The 2 people that run it, names are Colin and Erica Sorensen. They run this federation called the WRPF in Utah. They're the state chairs. Anyway, they brought us up to spot and load, so they paid for an Airbnb, helped us out with gas, paid us for our time, and we just spotted and loaded all day. It was a pretty good meet. I didn't feel very good pretty much the whole day. And Sunday we were going to go out to Lagoon, but same thing. I just didn't feel very good, so we just kind of hung around home and got so much trying to wrap up with work and stuff. We've got a big meeting next week.
Yeah, to wrap up, dude. There's something going around. It freaking sucks, man. Both of us have been sick, so
yeah. Most everybody in the gym. There's usually about 15 of us. We're down to about like 4. Everybody's just out, like sick with something.
Well, okay. Question for you before we start jumping in. We now have Keith Buckley and we have his brother, separate bands. Are you guys Mini Eyes or Better Lover team?
Many Eyes.
Every time I die.
Every time I die. That's the correct answer.
I don't know. There's like it probably just every time I die, because I wish I could just take the vocals from Many Eyes and just put it in Better Lovers and it'd be fine.
Yeah, well, exactly. Right?
See, I'll disagree with that though. I'll disagree with that though, because I don't think only the one song from Better Lovers was, I thought, any good musically. The other ones I didn't like either.
Like
so.
I like the Many Eyes single. It's just it sucks to. I wouldn't say sucks. Maybe that's not the right term. I hate hearing that vocal, like that vocal pattern, and going, "Oh yeah, something wild's gonna happen," and it's just repetitive. But
that was my issue. Like I felt like the chorus was a bit of a letdown. So
yeah, I didn't mind the chorus. I just wish there was just more spice to it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm excited to see what the rest of Mini Eyes sounds like. We have a few songs from Better Lovers. I'm excited to see what happens with Mini Eyes. I think both are going to be good bands in the end, but currently I'm more Mini Eyes as well.
I think Better Lovers like has a more unique sound. It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Whereas Many Eyes is like familiar. Like sure, it's maybe not as like pushing the edge or whatever, but it was good. You know what I mean? So it's like it was safe, right? It's safe for Keith, I think.
Sure.
Many Eyes was.
That's fair.
Which is not bad. It just, I think if Better Lovers can figure out, I guess, how to make that sound a little better, then I think in a little bit we're going to switch opinions on that, right? Because it's just the EP didn't do it for me. But they're brand new. They're probably still figuring crap out. And if I don't know how rushed that was, like, because I don't think Every Time I Dies, they just released that album like a couple of years ago, right? So like all this stuff coming together with Better Lovers was probably pretty quick. They haven't worked a lot of stuff out. They probably just jammed a little bit and then said, "Hey, let's write this crap." And
I think Jordan just pumps out material, is what it seems like. The guitarist there, and then who's the other one with them? Is it Will Putney? Is that the other guitarist in there?
I don't think so.
The Fit for an Autopsy guitarist / producer extraordinaire. Anyways, I think that's who it is. What about the announcement, though, of Mini Eyes going on tour with Thursday for War All the Time? That's going to be sick.
I might have to drive. They're only coming to like Austin and Houston or something. I might have to drive down to Austin for it.
Or just fly to Salt Lake, bro.
It is Will Putney, by the way. I just looked it up.
That's what I thought it was, yeah.
No, I'm not going to Salt Lake because aren't they coming in like, isn't it February?
March, I think.
March? That's still too cold. I'm not going.
Yeah, whatever.
I went down that rabbit hole of watching Bastards of Young. You can find it on YouTube, the full DVD. It's like probably an hour and a half long, but they go specifically into that house you were talking about.
So cool, that thing.
Yep.
So you watch the whole documentary or whatever.
Yeah, and it's in that house in specific, but it's it's funny, the guys from Armor for Sleep were talking like, yeah, we showed up one day to like go to a show and there's some 14-year-old kid taking our $5 entry fee. And we're like, where are your parents?
I just want to make it very clear to users listening to us about Thursday that they follow us on Twitter. So everyone else should follow us as well. If a band like Thursday can follow us, So can you.
But they still don't respond to Kyle.
They still don't respond to me on Instagram, but they followed us on Twitter. I'll forgive Jeff. All right. It's all right.
/ Jeff, if you hear this, we want to comment now. So no, that's awesome. So what is the documentary called though?
It's called Bastards of Young.
Okay.
So
I need to go watch that one.
Yeah. I remember buying it on a random buy, but it just had all these bands that I was really into at that time. It's been like 2006, and going back and watching it now, I'm like, man, this is super cool. And I actually want to think they got, like we were talking about, the street cred they got was because throwing basement shows in that area or around that time, that was like a very respective. You gained a lot of respect to do that, no matter what genre.
Oh, you'd have to.
So,
there's a whole genre there's a whole genre basically birthed from basement shows in Midwest emo.
They said like what an era like that you'll never get to share that with, because like, I mean, even us, basement shows don't really go on anymore. Neither do park shows, but there was something different about them that was long lived while it happened. But
yeah, that is crazy.
Now I'm just old and want to sit down.
That is crazy. So, well, from one, what would you call him, pioneer in this scene with Thursday to another with AFI is who we're talking about today. And the terrible take you heard at the beginning was these two saying that AFI is bigger than WWE. Everyone needs to go crap on these two.
We were originally coming from the perspective of who's the most famous straight edge person, and it's 100% Davey Havoc. So,
all right.
And Trevor was trying to say no, it's CM Punk because he does wrestling. We were like, wrestling's stupid. AFI's cooler, and it's more popular.
Listen, fight me, bro. Fight me, bro.
We will do it WWE style, and you can dress up like CM Punk because for some reason you're obsessed with wrestling. We're going to change the name to our podcast to like Ring Therapy, and it's not a like middle-aged marriage counsel podcast. It's going to be strictly on CM Punk. So,
let's do it. We're going to have a WWE episode. We'll talk about, again, John Cena, The Rock, CM Punk. All three of those are in the same category, in my opinion. I'm just kidding. CM Punk is not, but no, AFI, right? Incredible band. The one that's like, the crazy thing about AFI is they start off as just like straight punk, right? And now I don't even know what you categorize them in. They've got some synth pop. They've got, I don't know. I think Kyle, was it you who said they're just it was Josh. New version of The Cure.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Post-punk.
I would call it the technical goth punk. I think it's always been goth punk.
They talk about how they did not like that.
Yeah, the guitarist Jade says there's no such thing as goth punk.
Well, there is.
That's what they are. So let me ask you this, Trevor, with all their sound changes, should they have changed their name?
Okay. I've given this, bro, I knew this was coming up. I've actually given this a lot of thought. The thing about AFI is album to album, there's not a drastic change. It's if you start beginning to end, there is. But through their discography, like album to album, they just slowly meld.
It's a slow burn. You're okay with it.
It's a slow burn. Right?
God.
We're talking about 100th here, who goes from metal to who knows what the F they are these days. Like, that's where I'm like, change your name. Slow burn it. All right.
You can sit there and put conditions on it. Doesn't work that way, buddy.
Another band that we've talked about before too. No, bro. There's something about it, right? Because you can even still to this day, they do put out stuff that has the punk influence.
Hey,
they have faster beats and stuff like that.
You don't need to convince me, man. I don't think these bands need to change their name. I'm cool with it. Make the music you want, whether it's slow burn or straight into the fire. I don't care.
Listen, I've got bands on my list, man. They messed up. They should have changed their name.
Because I'm cool with their sound change, and honestly, like I owe them. I mean, obviously they don't know me, but or do they? An apology because I never gave their like later albums a chance. Like December Underground hit, and I was like, nope, I'm done. And Crash Love, we'll get into it more, but Crash Love not my favorite. But like the last three, they're solid albums, man. Goth punk, post punk, whatever you want to call it. Like it's dope. Mm-hmm. Like it's dope. So
yeah,
they can keep the name.
I'm all for this, right? I really enjoy AFI. This is a band that's been very influential on us from the beginning. Josh, I know that these guys were a lot of we've talked about this so many times, but a lot of your specific entry into the genre, right? So let's just start with you. We know where you started with them, but touch on it and start just kind of breaking down early AFI for us.
So there was a cousin that I had. They used to go to shows, right? You know, I was young, like 8 maybe. So I mean, little kid, and I didn't really understand, you know, what kind of shows he was going to at the time. But you know, I remember he had a Discman. We were at my grandparents' house, and you know, he was like, "You should listen to this band." And he puts headphones on, right? And it was like music I didn't fully understand at all. And I was asking him, you know, and I'm like, what band is this, you know, or what do they call it? Goes, they're called AFI. And at that time, underground bands like this, you can't just go in your phone and type up whatever you want. Like you can't go to a record store and get this stuff because it wasn't a very sellable album at the time. They were just a punk band. But later on, like, you know, I realized what the album was called. It was Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes. And the song was called Coin Return. And I remember, like, I still like burn in my brain forever. I remember him like singing along with the vocals, like in the parking lot or wherever at my grandma's house. And it was like, forgot, recall, slap me in my face every time I fall. You know, and I was like, I stuck with that like aggressive type of stuff, you know? And I was like, man, I really like that stuff. Well, about a year later, like he was like, I'm going to burn you this, you know, this disc. Cause he was going to live with his dad in Louisiana. And you know, who knew when the next time I was going to see him. I remember he he recorded it onto a tape because I didn't have a CD player. All I had was a tape player. And it got confiscated like less than half a day because I had it blasting in my room. Mom took it, never saw it again. But that was like early AFI for me. And I didn't really get to revisit that band until I connected with a kid in junior high. So I'd have been about 13. And he listened to AFI and I was like, AFI. Like I remember that band. And this was before Sing the Sorrow had come out. And he lent me a bunch of his CDs. And I remember like going through CDs trying to find that song. And like, I think he ended up having all the records except that one. And I was like, I was like, this sounds like the band, but I can't find the song forever. And then, you know, eventually I found it like years later, but
sure.
But yeah, I loved listening to that kind of stuff. Black Sails. I gotta think all.
So I'll just say while you're thinking about that, kids these days will never know the pain of hearing a song one time and not being able to find it for literal years. Like there was years that would pass by that I could sing a song, I knew the lyrics, I knew who the band was, or I thought I knew who the band was, and I had no idea what the song was.
Yep.
And no one will ever again know the frustration of that because of how digital everything is.
Well, I think that's what's changed so much in the scene lately too, is that like, Trevor, we talked about this when we had my friend on, Tyler, about how like, if you wanted to go to shows or you wanted to find new bands, you had to know somebody that knew someone that was doing this stuff, right? Like,
yep.
He was saying back in the day in California, like he'd go to a friend's house and he'd be like, oh yeah, man, we heard this. There's like this crazy band down in Sacramento that's going to be playing. Like, let's go check it out. And it turned out to be Rancid and stuff. And he's like, I would never find Rancid, like ever. So he's like, you have to know someone that invites you to it. But I also feel like that really made the scene like this really tight knit, like group, right? Because it's like it's almost like by invitation only do you get into this. And now it's like every kind of Yahoo can just walk in and whatever. And I think it's kind of ruined that little bit of like, I don't know if that's making sense, but like that little bit of like fraternity feeling of it, right? Because
Well,
it's only
we talked about it, right? We would find out about new bands through openers. I don't think that today, if a tour comes through, like you know who the openers are, or at least you can go listen to them if you want to. We couldn't even do that back in the day. Like they might have like a couple of things on MySpace or an album that's out, but if you didn't own it,
yeah,
you couldn't listen to it.
Well, I remember like one of the AFI tours, it was like they were with the Blood Brothers, and it was like, I mean, I don't know who the Blood Brothers were. That was like the first time I'd ever really seen them.
Yep.
Or heard of them was on that tour, right? And that's like, I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of different. This is cool. But it's like you never find that stuff otherwise, you know?
It's weird. It's like I haven't really liked an opener that I didn't know in the last like 5 years. Like, I don't know if that's like my opinion's changed on it. Most of the bands that I find now too are because they came from some other band. Like Better Lovers,
a lot of member crossovers,
or No Pressure.
Yeah, I think that was pretty common back in the day too. We just didn't hear about it as much,
right?
But we didn't hear about it because, like we talked about, unless they had a physical album or unless they did a tour, like you just didn't know. So bands came and went and all sorts of stuff, and we had no idea. And then we come up with like the best lineup out of 4 different bands out of a town, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't even know about the other 4 bands.
Well, it's kind of crazy because especially around this time, you know, you think of some of these bands that they probably played with that were huge in California, but never made it out of there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And you don't really see that anymore either, right? Like you're pretty much like a global band. The second you make it, you're global. But back in the day, it was like, we're talking about Thursday, like you're up in the Northeast and it's like, you could be huge. Everyone up there knows you, but you fly 4 hours on the other side of the country and it's like, no one knows who you are. They've never heard you. They have no idea what you're doing. Right.
Yep.
And it's like, that was just so different back in the day.
Yeah. And AFI actually credits the local scene as the reason they are as big as they are. So if you actually go read about the history of AFI, they started back in 1991 while they were still in high school, and they broke up in 1993. But in that 2-year period, they had put out 7 inches and a few different things. So they had made like 200 copies of their music and sent them to record stores and things along those lines. 93 hits, they start to graduate. 2 of the members go to college. One of them moves back east to join another band. And Davey's still floating around in California.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up at a show and someone hits him up and they're like, dude, like, why aren't you playing? Like, AFI is like one of the biggest things in the local scene right now. He's like, no, man, you're crazy. And they're like, no, for real. Like, you do a reunion show and it will be wall to wall packed. And so he calls up the other 3 and he's like, guys, come back for Christmas break and let's play a show. They play their show and about, I think he said 250 kids showed up, all singing along, like word to word for word. And they decided to commit to it full time. So like local scenes back in the day are what propped up these bands.
Yeah.
I don't think we have that today.
I think you
What do you guys think about that?
I think you do.
Do you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Tell me why.
Think about all the Bay Area bands that are going on right now. They all share members. They're all from the same scene.
But is it necessary for them to have that local scene, that local crowd, I should say, the scene itself where the members are sharing, obviously, right? But the local crowd, you're thinking of like the Tsunamis, right? The Gulch, the bands that popped off like that, right? Is that who you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
I think that because of the internet today, it's not as necessary to have your local scene.
See, I disagree with that because I think we talked about that a little bit with Conditions on why they didn't make it big.
Okay.
Is I don't think they had the backing of their scene. I do think it's crucial. I don't think that just because you have the backing of your scene, you will make it huge, but I think that you won't make it huge if you don't have the backing of it. Does that make sense?
I think it goes hand in hand. Like, have you ever seen the videos of Tsunami's first show ever?
Yeah, the one in the house
In the
or
house.
church thing.
Yeah, it's like in the
Yeah.
house. It is wall to wall packed. You cannot move, and you can't see. Like people are like around the wall, like up looking, like by the ceiling and stuff. So I think if they didn't have that kind of local support, they wouldn't have gained traction through these YouTube videos of going, wow, these shows are crazy. I
Yeah.
would love to see that, man.
One of the other examples that I thought was pretty interesting was I watched this interview from Wally from Rotting Out, and he was talking about their scene wherever they're from, somewhere in California, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about playing like some local shows there and it just being massive and stuff, and how they were trying to like get the scene more involved and like bigger and grow it. And he said that he like met this like 15-year-old kid that said he loved Rotting Out, was this huge fan, and it ended up being Sammy from Drain.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, because of Rotting Out's influence and their like push to grow their local scene, you then like grow other people into it, like a Sammy from Drain. And look at Drain. I don't know that Drain gets as big as they are if it's not for the influence and the help of Rotting Out, because they're all involved in that same scene together. So
All right. All right. No, all fair points.
So in short, you're wrong.
I'll take the L on that. My whole point was just like, I feel like back in the day, you basically played local shows pretty much exclusively, right? Around town, maybe a few things like that for a couple years. I feel like today, because of just web presence and things like that, and bands helping bands, right? Like you'll see a band who started like a year or two ago who's already like pretty dang big. And in my opinion, like it wasn't just their local scene that carried them to that. Like they didn't cut their teeth
Yeah.
on the local scene. They were able to do it. It's good music, right? And I'm happy for them. I'm not crapping on this by any means. I just think it was different. You cut your teeth differently back then compared to now.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, and I like there's a part of that I do agree with, because like you look at Drain too, like it's true, like they had the backing of Rotting Out, they had backing of their scene and stuff, but I don't know that people really heard them until Epitaph picked them up, right? That's when they became global. So like I do think there is a point where it's like the local scene can only get you so far, but I don't think you get to a point where Epitaph recognizes Drain unless you've got the backing scene, your local scene backing you up. The other thing I'll say is I think that like traditional hardcore and punk music, like AFI, for example, you cannot do it without the local scene, because that is the whole point of this genre. I think if you're like a rock band or if you're a metal band, or like, you can do it without the local scene, because I feel like those genres of music have been so commercialized and stuff now that it's like if you're a really good metal guitarist, you throw up a TikTok video, all of a sudden everybody knows you and you're in a huge band now. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
right.
I think local scenes pushed a lot harder in like 2002, 2004, 2005. But I would only say that because networking just didn't exist like it does now.
Yeah.
I mean, the only touring festival around that time was the Vans Warped Tour. And like, I wouldn't say all the bands were friends on the Vans Warped Tour. Bands just wanted to be on the Vans Warped Tour because it was the Vans Warped Tour, right?
Right.
But now you've got these other festivals that go on, like For the Children, LBD, Furnace Fest, the one in Florida, This Is Hardcore, what is it, Rain Fest. And while they're all different festivals with a lot of the same remaining bands, a lot of those bands network and all share members from different states, or like they've played in old bands together, and it's just become a big networking deal.
Yeah.
So like the local scene matters for them to get to that point, because obviously you're not going to get into those kinds of shows unless somebody knows you, and it's not like knows that your band's good. They want to know that you're like a chill person to be around.
Yeah.
And so that's
See,
what
but
the local scene matters.
that's kind of my point though, is like take a band like Koyo, for example. Like all those members are ingrained in different bands within the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've done different projects and things like that. Koyo came out of the gates like a fireball
Mm-hmm.
because the scene already knew the members and knew the backing. They didn't have to, they had to individually cut their teeth differently, but as a whole, Koyo didn't have to cut their teeth the same way as some of these bands back in the 90s had to.
Yeah, but think about though, like almost all of Koyo's merch has LIHC, Long Island Hardcore.
No, exactly. It's all supported, right? But what I'm just saying is like there gone are the days where you literally are playing a show every single weekend in your scene, in your town. You're having the same kids come over and over and over. Now it just happens that much faster.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just all I just thought it was interesting. I thought it's a different dynamic these days. And
yeah,
it's weird. It's cool. It's awesome.
I mean, I definitely think that social media has expedited a lot of that stuff.
Well, I just also wonder how many of these bands are going to become flash in the pans. Are we going to get a flash in the pan, bro? Come on, man.
Listen, it's like paint.
Something about your pants. I was like, "What are you doing inside your pants?"
No, man. We're talking about an old band. I'm gonna use old school language, man. Like,
wow,
I'm gonna sound like a grandpa here.
I'm pretty sure you made that up. So,
all right, we're not gonna discuss that right now. But I'm curious to see how many of these bands today turn into 30-year bands. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how many even turn into 10-year bands. Are we going to get 20-year anniversary tours from some of these new guys? Or is it going to be like 5 years and they move on to the next project? The attention span of people has just gone that much slower. It's going to be the same with musicians. They're going to get bored of a project, move on to the next one. I'm curious to see what happens in the next 2 years.
Do you think
it'll be really interesting?
Do you think it's the musician getting bored of the project, though, or do you think it's the musician knowing that people are bored of his project?
I would actually say the musician getting bored of their project and wanting to do something else. And they go and they change their name and start a new band.
Because I think I would almost call it a quick fix. Like if you start a project and nobody's into it, but like you want to play for people, it's not that you're not into the project anymore. You want to play something that people are into, so you'll switch.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because I also think that bands these days are very transient. Members come and go and the band stays the same versus AFI, who's had the same lineup since 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday had the same lineup since 2001.
I will say though that I don't think that anything has changed. I just think that you're more aware of it. Shoot, we were in a band that fizzled out. Like I think that there was always that problem, right? I just think that now we're more aware of it because it's easier to find this music. So I don't think anything has changed. I just think you're able to actually see it now instead of only having tunnel vision on your local scene.
Sure. I'm going to be looking at the Drains, the Tsunamis, even like the Knock Loose, right? And see if they're here in 5 years. I'm going to be curious about that because we're talking much larger scale. Our band, we played for a max of 20 people, right? We're not talking about the thousands of people. Yeah. We're not talking about playing at Coachella and stuff like that, like Knock Loose did. It's going to be interesting to see if they're here in 5 years.
Knock Loose been around, I think, about 10.
Yeah, I don't think those are because even like just thinking about bands like Turnstile and stuff too that played Coachella. Like, well, what's funny is the one band that's played Coachella that's not still around is freaking Title Fight.
Mm-hmm.
So what's their deal? You know what I mean? Basically, that's just me taking a shot at Title Fight. Get back together, you know? But no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it will be interesting in 5 years to see. And maybe that's a byproduct of hardcore music becoming the next cool thing.
Yeah.
Is it gets, and again, we've talked a lot about this. I don't think that'll last because I think enough people are going to get hit at hardcore shows that they're going to be like, this is not for me.
Anymore.
And I think it'll go back to where it was.
So jumping back into it. So Kyle, where did you start with AFI?
I sort of feel like AFI has just always been there for me.
Sure. But what album did you start with?
So personally, the first album I personally got into myself was The Art of Drowning.
Okay.
Now, I had listened to all of their previous stuff because of my older brother, but The Art of Drowning was really the one that like really stuck with me. And I freaking idolized Davey Havoc growing up, man. Like there was a Halloween that I dressed up as Davey Havoc to go trick or treating as like a little kid, right? I was young enough to like my parents were still going trick or treating with me. So like I was super young, but I had my mom cut my hair in like the Deathlock thing in the front and had like a battle jacket and wore like these really skin tight black jeans and stuff. And so like I idolized Davey Havoc growing up, and you know, it was because of the influence that albums like Black Sails, In the Sunset, and The Art of Drowning had on me.
So first album that I owned was Sing the Sorrow, but I can vividly remember being at, it wasn't Target, but like Kmart and stuff like that. And the Art of Drowning album art with like the graveyard looking scene and stuff like that. And then Black Cells right behind it. Like those two albums always stuck out to me. Like I can remember them being on the shelves. I can remember picking them up and looking at them and things like that. And then when I got Sing the Sorrow, I went back to those ones. So Sing the Sorrow was definitely my first, but Art of Drowning and Black Cells were right there with it. So those were the three that got me into AFI. But Sing the Sorrow will always be, if it's not, it's like a top 3 album for me, like all time. I love Sing the Sorrow. So we've done this with a few other bands, but I actually feel like AFI, even though they've consistently just from album to album progressed, I actually feel like they're broken into about 3 different phases. Do you guys kind of agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
So this is how I broke them down. Tell me if I'm in the right area or what you would change here, right? So phases of AFI, they're punk, East Bay hardcore phase, right? So first album that they ever put out was Answer and Stay Fashionable, followed by Very Proud of Ya, Shut Your Mouth, Open Your Eyes. These are the 3 that together coined the term East Bay hardcore. I have those 3 a little bit different than the next phase. Am I missing anything in those?
I think you're right on that one. That's how I'd categorize it too.
Cool. So next one, and then there's 2 albums here that I don't put in any of them. Okay. So we'll talk about that as well. But next one here, I'm going to put the All Hallows EP in with this, but Black Cells, The Art of Drowning, and then Sing the Sorrow.
So I would argue Sing the Sorrow.
I think I would argue.
I think Sing the Sorrow goes in the next one that you have.
Okay. Okay. I think that Sing the Sorrow, if you listen to The Art of Drowning, especially Days of Phoenix, that could have been on Sing the Sorrow.
Yeah, but I feel like Sing the Sorrow had a lot more like digital stuff in it. His like actual scream, like he actually screams instead of just like the punk hardcore yell. He like actually screams in it. There's a lot more melody. It's a lot slower. To me, it's a lot more similar to. I think it's more similar to December Underground, which you have in your next section, than it is to The Art of Drowning. I do think that you can hear where they're going from The Art of Drowning, but I think Art of Drowning is more closely related to Black Cells and All Hallows than it is to Sing the Sorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like just the imagery, all of that kind of stuff, I felt like they all connected together. I capped that group at Sing the Sorrow. That's just me personally. Like, I feel like those 3 albums, they bled together very well. And Sing the Sorrow, you're right. This is when they hit a major label, so their production value goes up, right? They have more money, they have more time, they have more digital aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, yeah, it was the next step up, in my opinion. But I still put it like in terms of everything going on in that kind of grouping.
I get what you're coming from. I just don't agree with
it. Okay. Josh, what do you think?
I'm pretty combative today, man. I don't know what my deal
is. Dude, I'm good with that.
I think I don't know. If I did it, like if I did it my own biased way, I would say basically anything from Black Sails in the Sunset and before is all in the same. But you can tell up to Black Sails is when it's starting to change, like you say, from the Art of Drowning of Days of the Phoenix and Black Sails has God Called In Sick Today were kind of like your introductions to this could go either way. But I think Sing the Sorrow, just with the different production value that they had, because that took away from the punk sound.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more singing, a lot more emo, I guess you could call it. I'm sure it classifies as an emo record, whether they want to agree with it or not.
Sure.
And they only had like one like fast, heavy song on that record, but it still didn't hold up to anything before. The song was called, I think, Death of Seasons.
Death of Seasons is a heavier one.
Right.
Yep.
It's the only one with like a fast, like punk beat. You know what I mean? But even with the higher production value, it just didn't, sound the same. But I would almost say like the Sing the Sorrow and December Underground, like December Underground was like the follow up of Sing the Sorrow. And I think why I give it such crap, because a hard record to beat. But then the last like section for me would be like, Bodies, Burial, and the Blood album.
Well, let's go to the next section, right? Because so this is interesting, right? December Underground and Crash Love, like I didn't put them in the next group because like you said, Burials, AFI the Blood album, and Bodies, those three are all very similar. But Crash Love and December Underground, they're just outliers.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
see, I feel like there's a ton of songs on December Underground that you could have thrown on Sing the Sorrow and would have fit perfect.
I think that there's like 3, maybe 4, but that album, it's how many songs? It's 12 songs. I don't think that the other 8 really fit as well. Like, and I listened to it a couple times over the last 2 weeks. Like, it stepped up in production value. They full on went Hot Topic with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's what they did.
That's such a good way to put it.
They went as mainstream as they could possibly get while still holding on to some of the scene that they had with December Underground. And then Crash Love after, I could not get into Crash Love. And I've tried to over the last 2 weeks. I still couldn't get into Crash Love. Those 2 albums are just outliers for me. Like they didn't really fit in anywhere. They're almost just unique to themselves. Right. They don't go together though either.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
See, I really liked Beautiful Thieves off of Crash Love, and I really like Love Like Winter. And I feel like both of those songs could sway either which way on some of the newer records or to Sing the Sorrow.
No, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying is they were just kind of caught in this middle ground of not quite knowing where to go because they've gotten to the point of being mainstream enough. They can't really go back to their punk roots, right? Kill Caustic was about the closest they could get. And that turns into almost like just a fast metalcore song at points, right? On December Underground. Mm-hmm. And so I love December Underground. I think I'm the outlier here in this group. I really like December Underground, but I also think that it was just that it was high school and stuff like that. Listened to it a ton. I'm not saying it's the best album they put out by any means, but it has some nostalgia for me. And then Crash Love, I couldn't get into it at all. There are songs. Beautiful Thieves is a good song. Medicate was a fine song. What was the other one I picked out? I think even Torch Song, like the first song on the record, they're fine songs. They're good songs. But the album overall, I couldn't get into.
What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I did listen to Sing the Sorrow, and I was a lot more into Sing the Sorrow back in the day. Going back listening to it now, I don't really know how I feel about it. It's really weird. Yeah, it's really weird. I found myself not enjoying the songs off Sing the Sorrow as much anymore. December Underground killed AFI for me. That I had not listened to anything past December Underground because of that album. Because I was like, okay, AFI's dead. There's like 1 or 2 songs on there that I'm like, okay, these are all right. But that album, I could not stand that album when it came out. And I still have a hard time listening to it now. I'm with you on Crash Love. It's all right. A couple songs were okay. The same ones you guys said. They were all right. I did get into Burials though. I thought that was a cool album. Same with Bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought those were actually, and this is the first time I'd listened to them. So I actually really enjoyed it. And I was like, this is something that I could definitely listen to. It's a nice change of pace from a lot of stuff, you know? And I'm not a huge The Cure or like a Joy Division guy. Like I'm not a big like post-punk guy.
Did you ever get to see there was I don't know what it was, but there was an MTV show they were doing years ago, maybe like 2006, maybe earlier. And they had The Cure there. And I think they had bands coming in covering songs. And AFI actually came in and covered that popular Cure song.
I actually think I do remember that.
There's several popular Cure songs.
It's the only one that
sounds
matters.
Super familiar.
You look. The Cure.
I don't know the name either.
Anyway, they covered it, and you can. There's only like
Friday I'm in Love.
No,
it's not that one.
Boys Don't Cry.
Just Like Heaven.
Just Like Heaven.
Okay.
Anyway, they covered it, and it's like it's flawless. Like it sounds so good, and like you can see like the singer of The Cure like in the crowd, just like he's got his like mascara on, just like
his hair that looks like he got electrocuted.
Yeah, he looks like the singer for Coheed and Cambria still.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, dude. Davey is so good. His vocals are so good. And I asked you guys if you had a chance to listen to that I Heard a Voice, the live album. It just solidified to me how good live he really was. Like, he's incredible.
It's pretty incredible that, like, because I think we've seen a lot of bands that, like, a band, for example, is like the Devil Wears Prada. The lead vocalist is named Mike.
Yeah.
That dude's vocals are, like, gone.
Mm-hmm. Fried.
Like, he sounds like, he's going to have to start talking out of, like, one of those tube things that smokers talk out of, you know, like the robot stuff. He's done, dude. But AFI is like is different because Davey Havok screamed for those first 3 albums, like just screamed. But his vocals have like gotten better as he's gotten older. Like it's super weird. You would think his vocals would be shot after 30 years of
playing.
And
it was probably just a rumor at the time. You know, there's no way to like know, but I remember like it was right when Sing the Sorrow came out, they were saying like, oh, he changed his voice because he had to have surgery on his throat. The doctor said if he kept screaming that he would not be able to do it anymore or something, and that's why he changed. I don't know if that was ever true. Still don't know to this day.
I remember hearing that.
But yeah.
Well, listen, if that's the case, that doctor was an absolute genius. Because Davey has held up now for another 20 years.
Yeah.
Still sounds amazing to this day. And it's incredible.
But when so I saw them this year. I can't remember what month. Probably February.
Like February. Yeah.
And I know you said that he was good. No, he still is good. Because
he is. Yeah.
He sounds very good live, but not just that. He's a performer.
Yes.
Like he knows how to catch a crowd and like keep them involved and like very, very good, especially for a 4-piece band. They're awesome.
Did they play old stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah, as soon as they started,
like how old we talking?
Like Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes old.
Oh,
and like Black Sails old. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, y'all are gonna find out what being bodied is. That's when I sent you that picture.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be posting that.
Yeah, I can't remember what's.
Oh, that's your picture?
Yeah, that's Josh is the one upside down. Look at the leg. That's his tattoo.
Yeah, I have to go back.
That's Josh.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, dude, I freaking love that.
33, dude.
Oh yeah, we're gonna post that, dude. That is
no, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, he came out and he's like, all right, we're gonna throw this, back to an old song. This goes out to so and so. I can't remember who it was. For getting our first show here in Salt Lake, blah blah blah. This is off of Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes, and I'm like, All right, here we go. Over the barricade I went.
No, so good. So cool. So, well, just wrapping this up real quick in terms of the albums. Yeah, Bodies, the Blood album, and Burials. All three of those very similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're calling this more or less like gothic new wave, alternative rock kind of thing.
It's post punk. It's like The Cure. It's post punk.
Yeah. Too many effing genres, right? So,
Sure.
but yeah, no, it's awesome. I be honest, like Bodies doesn't do it for me as much as Burials, and I actually really like the Blood album. I listened to that one multiple times over the last couple weeks, and I know that it's lower on a lot of people's list, but I really caught on to the Blood album quite a bit. Yeah, really, really good. So, okay, I took the time and I did the 11 albums, not the EPs, just the albums, and I put them in my order. Did you guys have a chance to do that?
I could do songs. I don't think I could do albums, though.
Okay. Well, then you guys can just crap on my list. All right.
Well, I'll give you a list too, but
okay. Well, we'll see where we start to differ. But I had number 11, Crash Love. I think it's their weakest entry out of any of them. But if I was to pick songs off of it, End of Transmission, Beautiful Thieves, and Medicate. I thought those three songs are really good. They did it for me. The rest of the album was just meh, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that? Any songs that you would pick off that other than those?
No, I agree. And that's, are we going to get to my list or am I just going to like jump in here and
let's go through mine and then we'll see where we start to differ. Okay.
All right.
So I have Crash Love there. Next up, I have Bodies all the way down at 10. So I have Bodies here. I really like some of the songs, Twisted Tongues, Begging for Trouble, Escape from LA. I think that they're solid. There's just not enough songs on there for me to have it higher up. Where do you have that one, Josh? Like, is Bodies low or does it go up the list for you?
I'm trying to figure out where you're putting December Underground because it's moving farther to one, and I'm up.
Right? Yeah, no, bro. I know. This is where we're going to be fighting about things because I have December Underground pretty high up, but it's all because of nostalgia.
Right.
So
I think out of newer records, so like I'm not familiar enough with the newer record song titled names. Sure. But I think out of the newer records, Bodies is probably my least favorite. I like Crash Love more than Bodies.
Really? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Next up, I had Answer That and Stay Fashionable, the first album.
We'll fight over that one too. So,
okay.
Dab you.
That one, I mean, the song that you gotta listen to off that is I want to get a mohawk, but my mom won't let me.
Dude,
right?
My 8-year-old's been begging my wife for a mohawk and she won't do it. And I play this song every time it gets brought up. Every single time it gets brought up.
I love that.
So awesome.
Here's the thing. And this is what I feel about like most punk in general. A lot of the songs sound similar. So like I like it. It's fast. It's enjoyable. But a lot of the songs sound similar, in my opinion. So that's why I have that lower. I have Burials at 8. So then I had songs to pick out on this. 17 Crimes, I Hope You Suffer. They were the singles that came off the album, but they are just good songs. 7, I have Very Proud of You. Again, early stuff, punk, fast, songs to listen to. He Who Laughs Last, perfect fit. This Secret Ninja, freaking awesome song. Yeah.
Is that hold on, is Very Proud of You the album where they have the song about breakfast cereal?
No, that's off the first one.
Okay. The fact that a band can sing a song about breakfast cereals should put them higher tier than everyone else. Just going to throw that in there.
Depends on the cereal.
Yep. 6, this is where I have Blood Album, Hidden Knives, Snowcats, White Offerings. I have it up at 6. I really like this one. I thought it was really good. This is Where You Hate Me. I have December Underground at 5.
I mean, it's super high, but it's not as high as you were making it sound like. Because if you were going to say like top 3, I'd have just ended the call right now.
No, it does not deserve to be up there, right? And listen, like everyone knows Miss Murder, but The songs to listen to off this are Summer Shudder, Love Like Winter, and Kill Caustic. Like, Kill Caustic is an awesome song.
And not this record.
They could have just made a 4-song EP with just like 4 songs off there, and I would have been happy. But it was more nostalgia for me than anything. Number 4, I have Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes. Songs on there, 3 Reasons, A Single Second, Salt for Your Wounds. Salt for Your Wounds has like a breakdown. It's a legit song. 3, Black Sails. Songs, Strength Through Wounding. They've got like, that's the opening song. They got that interesting like chant. And I thought that was a way cool opener. What is it? Peripheria, that song, and the prayer position. Those were the ones I liked it. The Art of Drowning, number 2, Days of the Phoenix, The Lost Souls, Of Greetings and Goodbye are the songs to listen to off there for me. And then number 1, Sing the Sorrow. Girls Not Gray, Silver and Cold, and the deep cut is Death of Seasons, in my opinion. I love Sing the Sorrow. So, Kyle, what do you have?
Yeah, so I've got December Underground at 11.
Okay.
Because there's very few bands that have released albums that have killed the band for me. And so this one has to be the last one. Then it's Crash. So Crash is not a bad album. It's just not a good album.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Right? It's just a pretty, I don't know, it just felt kind of like a generic album to them. And then I've got Bodies.
Okay.
And then The Blood.
Okay.
And then Burials. And then I have Very Proud of You.
Okay.
And then I have Sing the Sorrow.
So what number is that?
That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we're going to say 6 because I'm throwing in
number 6.
Okay, so 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. No, it's 5. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. It's 5.
Okay, it's number 5. Okay.
Yeah. But technically 6 because I'm going to throw a wrench in here. The next one is Answer That and Stay Fashionable.
Okay.
You have to remember that I'm a punk kid at heart, right?
Sure.
My first introduction to any of this kind of music was just straight up punk music. So
right.
Then next is Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes. Then it's Black Sails in the Sunset. Then it's the All Hallows EP. Because I know you're just talking albums, but you cannot talk their discography without All Hallows.
Listen, I completely
EP
agree
is
with that.
Unbelievable.
I completely agree with that. It was 4 songs though.
It doesn't matter. Those 4 songs you could put up against like 90% of the bands in the world.
You just argued that December Underground could have been 4 songs. It would have been fine.
But listen, they put another on there. All right, bro. Put and then other crap songs on All Hallows, and we can count it as one of the albums.
Favorite album, Art of Drowning.
Art of Drowning.
So
cool. Josh,
I'll give you songs. I don't think I could do albums.
Give me like your top 5 songs from AFI.
5 songs?
Yeah.
Okay. I think
Are these in order, or are these just your top 5 in no particular order?
I'll give you top 5 in no particular order because it'll probably change based on how I feel about my life that day.
Okay. Whether you're putting extensions in your bangs or not.
Exactly. You don't know. Hold on, what kid I want to fight. Man, I can't get trying to get my phone to load. I have a terrible memory with song names. But I know the order they're in on albums.
I'll just say that while he's pulling that up, Days of the Phoenix is the greatest AFI song ever written.
Yeah, hard disagree with that.
It is.
Like I absolutely love that song, but they have put out some really, really good stuff.
This is a song that like if I'm stranded on an island and I had to listen to for the rest of my life, I don't know that I would pick this, but I would not be upset if it was this song.
Okay.
So off of Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes, Coin Return.
Okay.
That was the first song that I had ever heard.
Nostalgia. Yep.
Black Sails in the Sunset, Porphyria, God Called In Sick Today.
Okay.
I mean, he's at 3. You're probably going to get more than 5.
Yep. That's fine.
Sing the Sorrow, Girls Not Gray, and Bleed Black. I think out of the newer ones, we've talked about Crash Level a little bit. So the Blood album, I would say Hidden Knives and
Such a good song.
Above the Bridge.
Okay.
And then I think my favorite song of theirs right now currently is actually off Burials, and it's I Hope You Suffer.
I Hope You Suffer is such a good song.
It's like very heavy, but it's not like production heavy, but you can feel that it's like you can feel it's heavy, and I haven't dove way into the lyrics, but like and what he's actually talking about, but I like them.
Yeah.
So
I was a really big fan of 17 Crimes off of Burials as well. It was their single. It's very poppy, but I was a big fan of that song. Well, just really quick, going over their side projects, just so everyone who's interested can go check this out. So Davey, he's done AFI. He did Black Audio with Jade. He did Extremist with Jade. Then he did Dream Car with the guys from No Doubt. So it's No Doubt minus Gwen Stefani, add Davey Havoc.
Nice.
Pretty dope.
Have you listened to that?
I have. I have. It's not bad, yeah. And then he did The Son of Sam, which was as close to the Misfits as he could get, right?
So good. Son of Sam is so good.
See, so when we were first hanging out, Son of Sam was actually a band that we listened to quite often down in your basement that I have vivid memories of. Because every time it would come on, I'd be like, this is AFI. And you'd be like, nope, Son of Sam.
Son of Sam.
So it was Son of Sam, and it was awesome.
There's another old YouTube video of Davey Havoc getting on stage with, I think, Project X singing Straight Edge Revenge.
Oh, really?
You should watch it. The entire like crowd like engulfs the stage, and you can barely see him. He's like toppled all over. It's pretty cool. So
Jade mentioned Black Audio and Extremist. He has a new electronic project called Twin Sign. It's all one word. It has a female vocalist. I actually really liked it. You guys should give it a listen. It's softer music. It's just more chill and things like that. But I thought it was really good. Hunter, the bass player, his old bands were called Force and Frisk. He did an album called Hunter Revenge, which is like dance music. You guys should take
like electronic or like
pull swing. A song up real quick and listen. It's like, if I remember, like 70s, 80s dance music. Like It's kind of weird. He put out a Christmas EP called Dan and Hunter. I don't know who Dan is, and then he was with Matt Skiba in a band called Matt Skiba and the Secrets. Dude, and so there's some tie right there.
Hunter Revenge is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Anyone who has not listened to it, check out Hunter Revenge. Not Hunters, Hunter Revenge. And then Adam, the drummer, he did the first album of Tiger Army. He was the drums for Tiger Army. And then his most recent side project was a heavy soul music band called The Reckless Kind. Kind of interesting. So it's really interesting because like the only heavy music you get on here is AFI when they go heavy and Extremist. Everything else is like dance music, electronic music. The Reckless Kind is soul music. Like, it's super interesting that their background or what they're currently listening to is this kind of stuff as opposed to, I guess it's not that interesting. Bodies is more in line with a lot of that stuff. So
I need to correct myself. The video is Davey Havoc with Ceremony singing Straight Edge Revenge, which is written by Project X. I'm actually kind of watching both and talking to you.
That's like Inception level stuff.
It's
Layers upon layers upon layers.
Straight edgeception.
it's pretty wild.
He's in a pretty cool documentary called it's like punk rock something. It's a documentary by this guy named Toby.
You know who isn't in this video though? CM Punk.
It's true.
John Cena.
He's also CM Punk is also not in this documentary that I'm talking about vegan
John
straight edge.
Cena's in all
Is
of
it
them. So.
Toby, the dude from H2O?
Mhm.
Okay. Toby Morris.
It's just super cool. Yeah, it's super cool documentary. So
nice.
But Davey Havoc's in there and talks a lot about it. So
you guys have anything else on AFI? Like any final thoughts here?
I will probably say this is probably one of the first bands that we have done where it seems like we've actually liked the majority of everything they've done. There's like one album that's kind of but
and with the sound change, right? Because like thinking about like Misery Signals, like we liked all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But these guys like changed their sound and we're still like, no, this is good.
Right.
Yeah. We're talking about bands who have probably more than 5 albums, right? Because it seems like if they have 5 albums, we typically enjoy most of those 5 albums. But once you start breaking like 6, 7, 8, that's where it starts to be like, holy crap, like what are these guys doing? Yeah. But AFI,
I've said this before, but it's like these guys have been playing music for over 30 years. Play whatever you want to play, dude. I don't care. Like you've made excellent music for 30 years. Play what you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've earned it, you know?
It really is incredible the amount that they've produced. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Black Audio has 5 albums. Extremis has a full album. Dream Car has a full album. Like these guys have put so much music out. There's something for everyone. Yeah. So if you're in the alternative scene, just go to AFI, look at their side projects. There will be something for you. I'm happy we did this because I had not given, like you said, Kyle, I had not given Burial's Blood Album and Bodies enough of a listen. And I'm glad that I was able to jump into those a lot more. I'm curious to see what's next. Curious to see what happens next with these guys. So I'm disappointed they didn't do a full 20-year Sing the Sorrow tour instead of just the one show.
I read a thing saying that they don't do that, like period. So it was very odd for them to even do the Sing the Sorrow show.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if their tours, they still play music from all their albums, then like why do it?
Yeah. Let's go 3 more years. December Underground. Davey, grow out those bangs. You don't have to play December Underground, but I want the like bangs down past the chin, like slicked, gelled to a point. Let's see what happens. But no, AFI will always hold a special place. Like I said, Sing the Star was probably top 3 album of all time for me. So cool. Well, who's up next? Kyle?
I think it's Josh.
Yeah, it's back to me.
Because it is back to you. Thursday, huh? Okay. Well, I'll post it on Twitter and we'll see who we're doing next week then.
Yeehaw. Cool. Thanks, man.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.